Dear children, Namaste. Tomorrow, the 21st of April 2021, is the auspicious day of Ram Navami. We celebrate the birth of Lord Ram on the day of Ram Navami all over the country. You all know that Lord Ram is an avatar of Lord Vishnu. Ram's story is called the Ramayana. Do you like to know more about the story? Once upon a time, there was a kingdom called Ayodhya in our country. It was ruled by a pious king named Dasharatha. Great sages like Vasishtha and Vamadeva guided him in religious matters. He had noble ministers in his court who helped him to govern the country peacefully. The people of Ayodhya were very happy and prosperous. They followed good dharma and loved and respected their king. King Dasharatha had a worry. He did not have a heir to the throne. Guru Vasishtha advised him to do Putrakameshti Yaga to beget children. Sage Rishyashringa performed the yajna. When the yaga was complete, the devas were pleased. They blessed Dasaratha and sent a golden pot full of payasam as their prasad through Agni Bhagwan. King Dasharatha received the payasam happily from Agni Bhagwan and gave it to his wives, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi and Sumitra. At the same time, you should know what happened in Indraloka, the kingdom of Indra. There was a demon king called Ravana who had 10 heads. He was a devotee of Lord Shiva. He did tapas and took a boon from Lord Brahma that he would not be killed or defeated by the devas or yakshas. But he did not mention about humans. Ravana became very powerful and threatened the devas and destroyed their peace. The devas worshipped Lord Vishnu and begged him to take birth in the Bhuloka as a human and kill Ravana. Lord Vishnu agreed and decided to be born as a son to Mata Kaikeyi and King Dasharatha. The queens who drank the payasam soon gave birth to 4 children. Kausalya begot Rama, Kaikeyi begot Bharata, and Sumitra begot Lakshmana and Shatrugna. The 4 children learnt different arts from sage Vasishtha and mastered them. When the princes were around 12 years old, sage Vishwamitra, known for his tapas and anger, came to the court of Dasharatha. The king welcomed the sage with due respect and offered a seat. The sage started to speak. He said, "O Dasharatha, king of kings, we sages are performing yagas and yajnas in the forest for the benefit of the world. The demons and demonis in the forest are not allowing us to complete the holy task. Please send your son Rama with me. He will kill all the demons and help us to complete the yagas." King Dasharatha was very upset as Rama was so dear to him and he could not live without him. Sage Vasishtha told Dasharatha about the powers of sage Vishwamitra and said that it would be good for Rama to go with him. Dasharatha sent Rama and Lakshmana with the sage. In the forest, Rama and Lakshmana killed the demoness Tataka and her son Subahu and chased the demon Marisha, her other son, with an arrow. Thus the sages completed their sacrifices and blessed Rama and Lakshmana. Sage Vishwamitra decided to take the princes to Mithila to attend a yaga performed by King Janaka. On the way to Mithila, Rama visited the ashram of sage Gautama. Sage Gautama had cursed his wife to become a rock because of a mistake she committed and said, "You will be relieved of my curse when Rama touches your rock form with his lotus feet." Thus, Ahalya got relieved of her curse. She took her real form and joined sage Gautama, who came there. King Janaka had also fixed the Swayamvara of his daughter Sita. Sita was found by Janaka from the field as a baby several years ago when he ploughed it for doing a yajna. The king had a condition for the Swayamvara of his daughter. He said, "I have a divine Shiva Dhanush which cannot be lifted by ordinary human beings. Whoever lifts the bow and pulls the strings will marry my daughter." When the sage and the princess arrived at the Swayamvara hall, sage Vishwamitra told Rama to lift the bow. Rama lifted the bow effortlessly and pulled the string. The bow broke into 2. Janaka was pleased and gave his daughter in marriage to Rama. Rama's brothers married the sisters of Sita. When they were returning to Ayodhya after the marriage, they met sage Parshurama on the way. Sage Parshurama challenged Rama to pull the strings of his holy Vishnu Dhanush. Rama did the same. Sage Parshurama was so pleased and he blessed Rama and left for the forest to do more tapas. Rama and Sita lived happily at Ayodhya for many years. One day, King Dashratha, who was becoming old, decided to crown Rama as Yuvaraja to the throne and retire to the forest. He consulted his guru, ministers, and the people and fixed the function for the following day. Bharata and Shatrughna were away at Kaikeyi's father's Kekeya Desha. After making all the arrangements, King Dasharatha went to the palace of his dear queen Kaikeyi to share the happy news. To his surprise, Kaikeyi was not in her room but in Kopagraha. Kaikeyi had a maid named Mantra who was also her relative and close to her. She did not like Rama. She wanted to stop the Pattabhishekam of Rama. She ran to Kaikeyi and broke the news about the Yuvaraja Pattabhishekam to be performed to Rama the following day. Kaikeyi was very pleased and she gave a lot of gifts to Mantra as she loved Rama so dearly. But Mantra spoiled Kaikeyi's mind, saying, "Oh, poor Kaikeyi, why are you so pleased about the news? If Rama becomes a king, his mother will treat you like a servant. Rama will think that Bharata is his enemy to the throne and he will kill him." Kaikeyi was shocked. Mantra also reminded her of the 2 boons given to her by her husband and asked her to demand them now. She said, "Ask your husband to send Rama to the forest for 14 years and crown Bharata as Yuvaraja." Kaikeyi followed the advice of Mantra. King Dashratha, who was known for keeping his promises, was easily trapped. Rama also vowed to fulfill the promise of his father. When Kaikeyi ordered Rama to go to the forest and give his kingdom to her son Bharata, Rama agreed immediately with love and respect. Sita and Lakshmana decided to go to the forest with Rama. Dasharatha's charioteer and friend Sumandra was asked to take Rama, Sita and Lakshmana away from Ayodhya in the chariot. The people of Ayodhya were in tears and they ran along with the chariot. King Dasharatha could not bear the sight of Rama leaving. He fell ill. Rama somehow convinced the people of Ayodhya and proceeded towards river Ganga. Guha, the tribal king and a devotee of Rama, helped them cross the river Ganga in his boat. They reached the ashram of sage Bharadwaj and took his blessings, and they moved towards Chitrakutam, where they lived along with other sages happily for many years. After Sumandra returned to Ayodhya, King Dasharatha died out of sorrow. Bharata and Shatrughna were brought back from Kekeya. Bharata learnt everything that happened in his absence through his mother. He scolded her very badly for all the untoward happenings. After their father's last rites were performed, Bharata and Shatrughna, along with their mothers and a handful of army, went to the forest where Rama was living to convince him and bring him back to Ayodhya. They met Rama in the forest after knowing from Guha and sage Bharadwaja about his whereabouts. Rama, Sita and Lakshmana were grieved on hearing the demise of King Dasharatha. They did the last rites for the king. Bharata, Shatrughna and all others pleaded with Rama to return to Ayodhya. Rama refused. Bharata said, "O Rama, I will not rule the kingdom of Ayodhya. It belongs to you. Kindly give me your sandals, your padukas. They will rule the country till you return. I'll stay outside the country at Nandigram till you return." Rama was pleased and moved by the affection of his brother. He gave his padukas to Bharata. After Bharata and the mothers left, Rama did not like to live in Chitrakutam. He met sage Agastya and they moved to Panchavati. Lakshmana made a Paranasala and the 3 of them lived there. One day, Demoness Surpanaka, sister of the demon king Ravana of Lanka, happened to see Ram, Lakshman and Sita. She instantly fell in love with Rama and pestered him to marry her. Rama refused, saying that he was married to Sita and that he would not marry anyone else. She kept on troubling Rama. Lakshmana got angry and cut her nose with his arrow. Surpanaka, whose ego was badly hurt, ran to Ravana and twisted the story and said, "Oh brother, I saw a very beautiful woman in the forest. I wanted to bring her and make you marry her. But her husband, an ordinary man who is sent to the forest by his father along with his brother Lakshmana, spoke very high of themselves and their powers. And Lakshmana attacked me even after knowing that I am a sister." By these words, Ravana got angry and also desired for Sita. He sent his powerful warriors. Rama killed all of them. Ravana decided to play a trick to abduct Sita without fighting Rama. He went to his uncle Maricha, whose good advice he did not listen. In the end, Maricha agreed to help Ravana in his bad deed and disguised himself as a beautiful golden deer and ran here and there in front of the Parnashala. Sita saw the deer and liked it very much and asked Rama to get it for her. Rama and Lakshmana doubted that the deer was some demon. Rama refused to catch the deer, but Sita pleaded so much that Rama agreed to get the deer for her. He told Lakshmana to take care of Sita and took his bow and arrow and chased the deer. It started running deep into the forest. At one time, Rama got angry and shot an arrow at the deer. The deer, before dying, took the original form of Maricha and shouted in Rama's voice, "Hey Sita, hey Lakshmana." On hearing the distress cry of her husband, Sita asked Lakshmana to go and help his brother. Lakshmana knew the power and strength of Rama and that it was not the voice of his brother. He convinced Sita that her husband would return safely, but Sita refused to believe, and Lakshmana had to leave Sita alone and go in search of his brother. Ravana, who was waiting for this chance, abducted Sita and flew to Lanka in his Viman. Jatayu, king of vultures, fought Ravana and asked him to return Sita to Rama. The old bird fought fiercely but lost his wings in the fight and fell to the ground. When Rama and Lakshmana returned to the Parnasala, they did not find Sita in the Parnasala and they went all over searching for Sita. On the way, they met Jatayu, who was holding his life to meet Rama to tell the story about Sita. He told Rama that Ravana abducted Sita and he felt sorry that he could not free her from the demon king. Shortly he died. Rama did last rites for him. Then they walked further and met Hanuman. Through him they met Sugriva, the king of Vanaras. Rama killed his brother, the mighty Vali, and made Sugriva the king. Sugriva helped Rama in his search for Sita by sending his Vanara army in all directions. Hanuman, a pious Vanara and devotee of Lord Rama, humbly took the engagement ring of Lord Rama, crossed the ocean and reached Lanka. He found Sita in Ashokavana. He sang the glory of Rama sitting on the branch of the tree under which Sita was sitting, prisoned by Ravana and guarded by many demonesses. Then he approached Sita and told her that he was a messenger of Rama and showed her the ring of Rama for identity. Sita in turn gave a jewel to Hanuman to take to Rama. Hanuman promised Sita that Rama would come and conquer Ravana and take her back and asked her not to lose courage and end her life. Hanuman went back to Rama and told that he found Sita, thus saved the life of Rama, who missed Sita too much. Rama, with the help of the Vanaras, built a bridge across the ocean and reached Lanka with his Vanara army. Vibhishana, Ravana's brother, who followed good dharma and advised Ravana to return Sita to Rama, was driven out of the kingdom of Ravana. He also took the side of Rama. Ravana war was fought, and in the end, Ravana was killed by Rama. Vibhishana was made king of Lanka, and Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana met Bharata at Nandigram, and all of them returned to Ayodhya to the joy of his family and the people of Ayodhya and ruled the kingdom happily for so many years. Jai Shri Ram.